This presentation introduces how to run a Courage workshop, the child protection and empowerment program for communities around the world. Child protection is the prevention and responding to violence, exploitation, and abuse against children. It is very important as issues such as child abuse, neglect, and exploitation can lead to anxiety, depression, suicide, learning disorders, post-traumatic stress, and developmental challenges. In the long term, a life of violence can result in substance abuse, poor self-regulation, risky sexual behavior, and toxic stress that impacts negatively on a person's health and well-being. When we started our child protection journey at Courage, the first thing we noticed was how often people took a disempowered approach to solving their child protection challenges. In child protection, there are 3 different groups of people involved. The first are the child protection officers, who can be teachers, police officers, social workers, doctors and nurses. In fact, all adults have a responsibility to look after the children in their family and community. The second group are children. This starts at the point of conception when a child is still growing in their mother's womb and continues from birth all the way up until they turn 18 years of age. The last group of people are the perpetrators. These are people who have done something wrong to a child and can be strangers, members of their community, other children, or a child's parents. The biggest problem, however, is that all these people often make disempowered choices. What happens is that in the process of trying to protect the child, this group of people often descend into what Stephen Karpman refers to as a drama triangle. In this drama, the child protection officer becomes a rescuer who tries to save the child becomes a victim, and the perpetrator becomes a persecutor. Because everyone is disempowered, the drama tends to go round and round in a circle, where victim becomes persecutor, persecutor becomes rescuer, and rescuer becomes victim, and so on. The key is to move out of this drama and into a space of empowerment where the child protection officer becomes an enabler. They are not rescuing the child, they are providing the child or parents with choices and then empowering them to make the right choices. The victim becomes a survivor or thriver, and the persecutor becomes an accountable person who knows the difference between right and wrong. So what does it mean to be empowered? The dictionary says it is when a person is given authority or power to do something. If we are empowered, we become stronger and more confident. We become the masters of our destiny and able to claim our rights as members of the human race. So how do we build personal and community empowerment? At Courage, we believe this can be built in 3 steps. Firstly, you need to believe in possibility. Secondly, you need to have some level of self-awareness. And finally, you need to do these 2 things in the context of abundance. If you think about it, when we are young, we all have a relatively high level of belief in possibility, but we are not particularly self-aware. We are unconsciously empowered. We believe we can be anything and do anything. We're just not sure how at this point. And then different people arrive in our lives and tell us, well, you can't actually be what you want to be because of your age, or the color of your skin, or the fact that you're a girl or a boy, or you're too old. You get the picture. Suddenly, we found ourselves in the space of being unconsciously disempowered. We no longer believe anything is possible, and we don't know why we're in such a dark hole. Interestingly, the people who put us in these dark holes are often the consciously disempowered, and this is the 3rd dimension we need to be aware of. These people have a high degree of self-awareness. They are often very clever, but their vision is based on scarcity rather than abundance. They believe that there will never be enough for everyone in the world, and so the only way to get what they want is to take it away from other people. And obviously where we want to be is consciously empowered. So how do we do this? Well, to build self-awareness, we need to know what our values and beliefs are. We need to partner with other people to test these values and beliefs, and we need to ensure that we have a healthy sense of self-esteem and self-worth, and that we are adding value to the world around us. To build our belief in possibility, we need to have a vision for ourselves, a purpose for our lives. We need to build on this constantly through gaining knowledge and insight. And finally, we need to turn this vision, knowledge, and insight into action, preferably on a daily basis. And finally, we need to build our self-awareness and belief in possibility in the context of love and abundance, with the knowledge that there is more than enough for everyone to live their best life in this world. At Courage, personal and community empowerment is both a philosophy and a tangible step-by-step program to address the many child protection challenges we see in our communities every day. So what does a workshop look like in practice? The basic toolkit is made up of 4 picture-based posters. The first illustrating a typical community anywhere in the world, complete with people, spaces, and the child protection challenges they are dealing with. The second illustrates children's rights and needs based on developmental stages, essentially how a child should grow up. The third illustrates the shift from disempowered to empowered drivers of change. And the final poster illustrates the step-by-step approach to child protection and safeguarding. There are also 2 packs of cards, a disempowerment pack that details every single child protection challenge that exists in the world today, and the 7 disempowerment drivers that cause them, and an empowerment pack that details the empowerment drivers, child developmental stages, children's rights, and importantly, the responsibilities that come with those rights. Finally, there is an easy-to-use Train the Trainer poster. All workshops start with a visioning session where we ask participants what kind of world they would like children to grow up in. As stimulus input, we share children's rights as defined by the United Nations, our Continental Declaration on the Rights and Needs of Children, and our country's Children's Act. We illustrate a world of rights where children are safe and secure, are registered, have an identity and a family, versus a world of no rights where children have no access to education, are abused and neglected, and have no sense of belonging or identity. We also look at how they should be developing from in utero and their first years of life, all the way to puberty, hormones, and early adulthood. This is an example of a community vision that a team developed in one of our workshops. In this vision, developed by a group of children, they've drawn and named their ideal community, which is another approach to creating a vision. The next step is about understanding what participants think drive child protection challenges versus what prevents them in their communities. We use the community map for this exercise and ask participants to identify all the child protection challenges they have observed in their community on the map. They then need to discuss what they think are the key causes of these challenges and what they think prevent them. This is a powerful exercise that creates a foundation for the rest of the workshop, as it creates an overview of what the participants are dealing with in each of their unique communities. This was a group of social workers identifying the child protection challenges in their community. Once they had acknowledged that the challenges existed, they could start to work towards solutions to solve them. After defining a vision for our community and then acknowledging that challenges exist, it's important to start thinking strategically about how to solve them. Courage has identified nearly 50 unique child protection challenges that children are experiencing around the world. Each is represented by a card that details what the challenge is and what needs to be considered in terms of its impact on the children and the community they live in. At this point in the workshop, participants are encouraged to go through all the cards to understand what the challenges are, if they are happening in their community, and if yes, to prioritize the challenge as a low, medium, or high problem. This is an example of the late termination of pregnancy or late abortion card, which is often not understood as a child protection challenge as the child has yet to be born. This illustrates how child protection challenges can manifest, as in the example of physical abuse, and how the challenge impacts negatively on a child's rights and psychosocial development. Participants discuss each challenge in the context of their community and then decide what impact it is having. They then place the card in the high, medium, low, or does not exist pile. This is the first step in building understanding in the process of change. Now that problems have been identified, understood, and prioritized, it is important that solutions are found. Participants get to map their high priority challenges to the disempowerment drivers causing them, based on their experience in their community. Then, using the opposite empowerment driver, they start to create solutions. The key to this exercise is getting participants to think through an empowered approach to problem solving, firstly by identifying what the problem is, then understanding what is driving the problem, and finally looking at an empowered solution to solve it. In this particular example, children from a school noted how their teachers often emotionally abused the learners. The children associated the challenge with the disempowerment driver of abuse and then decided that the best way to solve the problem was to use love. They came up with an in-class campaign entitled "Love Your Teacher and Your Teacher Will Love You," learning that love is a far more powerful way to solve conflict than violence. The next exercise is sharing a pragmatic step-by-step approach to solving child protection challenges as defined by our country's Children's Act. primarily the child protection and safeguarding process in the event of child abandonment, neglect, abuse, or exploitation. Other child protection processes have also been developed by the Courage team, which include discussing sex, birth control, conception, and pregnancy, option counseling for crisis pregnancy, positive parenting approaches, and the process of adoption, all of which you can find on the Courage Child Protection website. One of the most important things to remember in child protection is that no person is an island. It is crucial to identify and then develop relationships with community partners that can support you in your efforts. The next exercise is developing a community partnership strategy, which is a two-step approach. First, you must identify who your partners in your community are, and then you must develop win-win relationships with each of them. In this example, these social workers are using the Courage Community Map to identify partnerships that they can develop in the communities they work in. Participants then develop a win-win partnership plan, as illustrated in this example, where they firstly agree their shared vision and then define what each partner needs from the other to achieve this vision. Towards the end of the workshop, we return to our vision statement that we defined at the start and ask ourselves, what values will drive the behaviors that will help us to achieve our vision? As stimulus for this exercise, participants are encouraged to look at the children's rights that were defined at the start of the workshop and understand that for every right, such as the right to education or legal protection, there is an equally important responsibility, such as working hard or abiding by the law. Participants get to map the human rights cards to the relevant human responsibility cards. It is important that this matching process is accompanied by group discussion and engagement. Once participants have understood how their rights link to responsibilities, they will need to define and agree the values that will help them achieve their vision for themselves and their community. The final step in a Courage Community workshop is defining what actions people will take once the workshop is over. Participants agree what they will need to stop doing now that they understand children's rights and child protection, what they will need to start doing, and importantly, what they will need to continue doing, which are things that they were already doing and are still relevant to achieving their child protection vision. The most common response from participants at the close of a workshop is, "I will speak up more," which indicates how many challenges are happening all around us that are not being addressed. To understand all the Courage tools and processes in more detail, watch the workshop videos for a detailed look at how to facilitate the individual exercises with your community participants. Thanks for watching. For more information, visit courage-community.com. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our Courage channel. Stay strong and take courage.